Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, join me this week as my special guest is Veeda Bybee, who is an author, and one of her books that she just published combines recipes with Broadway musicals. Really interesting combination. But first, I did want to remind everyone that on Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th, I will be at the Bucks Country Gardens doing cooking demos. I'll be doing a cooking demo on edible flowers and a cooking demo on edible herbs on both of those days. So please join me. The events will be at 1:30. That's at Bucks Country Gardens in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And you can look up Bucks Country Gardens online, and you can also register, I believe, online or give them a call. Just look up Bucks Country Gardens online. And I just wanted to wish everyone a belated St. Patrick's Day, and also St. Joseph's Day is a feast day that we celebrate in Italy, especially in the region of Molise, where some of my family is from. They have really strong traditions of celebrating this holiday, and it's always celebrated on March 19th. So here's some facts about St. Joseph's Day in the Molise region of Italy. It does have religious significance. St. Joseph was the earthly father of Jesus, and he's honored as a symbol of fatherhood and protection. And as mentioned, in Italy, this day also doubles as their Father's Day. So they celebrate Father's Day on March 19th, not in June like we celebrate in the U.S. It does have historical roots. The feast is deeply rooted in gratitude. Legend has it that St. Joseph answered prayers during a severe drought, bringing rain and saving crops like fava beans, which are now a symbol of good luck and abundance. The families and communities set up elaborate St. Joseph's tables or altars adorned with flowers, candles, bread, citrus fruit, and devotional items. These tables are a thanksgiving and often include offerings for the less fortunate. And in Molise, as in other parts of southern Italy, the day is marked by processions, prayers, and communal meals. The dishes are typically meatless since the feast falls during Lent, and Lent is meatless Fridays, and so they celebrate the Feast of St. Joseph's Day with meatless meals. Here are some dishes there are typical dishes that are served for St. Joseph's Day. So the first one is called pasta di San Giuseppe, pasta of San Giuseppe, San Joseph. It's a simple but symbolic dish made with pasta and breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs represent sawdust from St. Joseph's carpentry, because he was supposed to have been a carpenter. Anchovies and olive oil. Some variations include raisins and pine nuts for added flavor, but you sprinkle the breadcrumbs on top. Then there is zeppoli di San Giuseppe. These are these gigantic cream puffs. They're often fried or baked and filled with custard, ricotta, or cream, and they're topped with powdered sugar and a cherry. Oh, they are so good. And fava bean dishes, since fava beans are part of the history of St. Joseph's Day. Fava beans are a staple of the feast and are prepared in various ways, from soups to salads, symbolizing sustenance and survival. There is another recipe that's local to one of the little towns in Molise. It's actually a little town that my family is from, called Richa, and they're known as St. Joseph's Pants, and the dialect word for them is kavazoon, which is a dialect version of the word calzone. So they do look like a small calzone, and oh, they're so good, and they're made particularly for St. Joseph's Day. The filling includes chickpeas cooked and mashed, honey, lemon zest, ground cinnamon, sugar, white or brown. And for the dough, it's just flour, sugar, eggs, milk, vegetable oil. Now, the traditional recipe that goes way back, they actually use lard, but we use vegetable oil and vanilla extract. So what you do is you blend the chickpeas into a smooth paste and mix with honey, lemon zest, cinnamon, and sugar. And you adjust sweetness to taste. It's a very simple recipe. To make the dough, you combine the flour, sugar, eggs, milk, oil, and vanilla to form a soft dough. You knead it lightly and let it rest. Then you roll out the dough and cut it into circles. Place a spoonful of the chickpea filling in the center of each circle, and you're going to fold the circle into a half moon shape and seal the edges with a fork. So you can either bake these or fry these till golden brown. Then you dust them with powdered sugar or drizzle with honey before serving. This is such a delicious treat. If you've never tried it, it is so delicious. It's a really unique treat to everyone. And the recipe will be on the blog at the marialiberati.show.com. And if you do get to try it, please let me know. Take a picture, hashtag it, the Maria Liberati Show, and share on social media. Stay tuned for the interview. And at the end of the show, I will give you a challenge for this week based on St. Joseph's Day. Sizzle in the kitchen with me and my Gourmand World Award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Unleash your inner chef and transform your meals into Italian masterpieces. Get your copy today of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Holidays and Special Occasions, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Da Vinci Style, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, and taste the passion of Italy. You can get your copies on Amazon.com, at marialiberati.com, at artoflivingprimamedia.com, on Kindle, and anywhere books are sold. And, March is International Women's Month, and we're trying to have a lot of women on all this month that have special projects. And today we have author Veeda Bybee, and she has a really interesting cookbook. If you are a fan of musicals, which I am, she's found a way to combine food, right, with musicals, right, Veeda?
Yes. Maria, thank you so much for having me on the show. I love that you're celebrating March and International Women's month. I do
Yes.
have a cookbook that came out recently. It is called A Few of My Favorite Things, Recipes Inspired by Family-Friendly Musicals.
Uh-huh.
And the title is a play on the title of the song from The Sound of Music, My Favorite
Yes.
Things. They're recipes that go along with musicals, but they're also some of my favorite recipes as well.
Uh-huh. So how did you come up with the idea of combining musicals with recipes?
So it started 5 years ago during the pandemic when we had not very much to do. So we were thinking of something that we could spend time together with a family that didn't require too much energy. And
Uh-huh.
so watching musicals, we made it a goal to we watched one musical for a week every
Uh-huh.
weekend for a whole entire year. And to make it an event,
Uh-huh.
I also researched recipes that would go along with those shows. And so we were able to make food that went along with either like the theme of the musical, maybe it was mentioned in the musical, or the time period. And it was
Wow.
so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. Well, that does sound like it. And I know lots of things came out of the pandemic. My podcast is one thing that I did too, because we couldn't do anything else, so we had to figure a way to to be productive or creative in the constraints that we had. So that's what I was going to ask you. So how did you how did you match up the musical to a recipe? And is each chapter dedicated to like one recipe and the musical that it kind of matches to?
Well, it's interesting. So I broke up the book into like acts of a musical. And so the
Oh, there
beginning
we go.
is like, your opening number, like
Right.
breakfast is opening. And then there's
Right.
like act two, which is like kind of like the meatier heart of a musical. So that's like where the entrees
Right.
go. And then
Right.
there's like finale, which is like desserts. And because musicals, like they have different various themes, but they can also overlap. So there are
Uh-huh.
some recipes that you can make for the Sound of Music that you could also make for something else as well. Like, well, there's a bunch of like European British musicals, and so you can make
Right.
something for like a tea party for Alice in the Wonderland or for Mary Poppins.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So in each chapter, are the chapters recipes only, or are they like a little backstory to the musical that you've matched it with?
So I do have like a head note before each recipe, and I'm
Uh-huh.
able to weave in some information, whether it's from something I learned about that time in history, or
Right.
maybe something meaningful that for my family.
Uh-huh.
There is some there. Like when I was researching like Greece, it was kind
Right.
of fun to think about the 1950s, and like I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was in Chicago, and so I was able to weave some of those things in, and I learned about either the time period or the musical itself too. So that was really fun to also weave into the book.
Definitely. That's really interesting. So, did you mainly do like modern? Well, Grease isn't extremely modern, but I guess Grease the movie and the whole thing was n it's not that old. So, did you do those types of musicals or the older musicals like the classic, Oklahoma and Sound of Music? Did you do that or like a combination of?
It was definitely a combination. So, for instance, Grease, as a family, my kids have never seen like the 1970 version. We watched I think it was ABC, I could be getting it wrong, but they had a televised Grease Live, which is a
Oh,
stage
yeah,
production.
I heard of that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we watched that one.
Uh-huh.
We wanted to, some of them, we just want a variety of different ones. But
Right.
I was really surprised to find that over time, like since we were doing this so regularly, my kids built up this tolerance for really long musicals because some of them are like 3 hours long. So I
Right.
was really surprised when we actually stuck with and really enjoyed watching a 3 hour Fiddler on the Roof, which is an older one.
Yes,
So it
that's
was,
a classic one I
yeah.
forgot of. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know I have wonderful memories of family time watching those musicals, some of them the classic musicals, and some of them I remember going to actually see in a movie, in a movie theater, like The Sound of Music and some other ones, and then watching them at home all together with my family. So they definitely are a great way to have some family time, I think, right? And then, cook the recipe that goes along with that musical. And I love it that I think it's also an educational thing because you're teaching kids about like either a time period or a culture or something that relates to whatever the recipe is. Is that correct?
Right, yes. And when I was selecting them, I wanted the musicals to be more accessible to most people. So as
Uh,
in they had to be something you could watch streaming on TV.
right.
I grew up going to like college and university productions. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and so there was a school not too far away. I remember
Uh-huh.
going to some of the summer productions, and it is such a great treat to see a production live and
Yes.
have
Yeah.
that experience. But I know not everybody gets that. So, um, and especially during the pandemic, we weren't going out very much.
Right.
So it was really good to have that experience just from your own home too.
Definitely. It is really good. And yeah, not everybody does. Luckily I was fortunate enough to live close enough to Broadway that I was
Oh,
able to catch a lot of musicals on Broadway, but what was I going to say? But not everybody does get, that experience. So it's great to expose them to, culture through this type. So why don't you give us, before we go, can you give us an example of, I guess one like a classic musical? I guess did you do anything with The Sound of Music since that's the title?
yes, I did. So I have a Von Trapp schnitzel and noodles, and
Okay.
and so it's a chicken cutlet that you can use in various different recipes. Pairing it
Right.
with like buttered noodles.
Right.
Um, that was like a really fun one to do. There is a
Yes.
film I have never seen until this project. It's called Bugsy Malone, and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's older, and I found it so endearing. So that was a fun one to watch as well. And so you can
Huh?
make a chicken parmesan out of that same cutlet recipe, but you're
Oh,
adding
uh-huh.
like the marinara sauce, or and just all the mozzarella. So that's kind of fun to how you can interchange some of the recipes as well.
Yes, yes. How about did you do any like musicals that are really, really a little more recent?
Yes. So, well, this is funny because it's a more recent musical. We did
Huh?
Hamilton because that was the
Okay.
project that kicked this whole thing off. I I have kids, and my kids have had that song or just that soundtrack in their head for years.
Uh-huh.
And so in July of 2020, when Hamilton was on Disney Plus, we watched that, and it was really transformative because we have never seen the actual musical on
Uh-huh.
production, even though
Uh-huh.
we were so familiar with the songs. Like we listened to the soundtrack all the way through. But just seeing that performance was really transformative. And I actually have seen it now on stage, but that was my first exposure to it. So
Right.
that is a newer one, but it is like, in the
So what recipe
1700s.
did you do with Hamilton?
Yes, so there is no food actually mentioned in Hamilton, but
Right.
back
Okay.
then,
Uh-huh.
they're like hoe cakes, just like a pancake, and so we did
Right.
honey hoe cakes for that one, and
That's
supposedly I
great.
think Hamilton might have liked them too. I think from
Yeah.
what I remember.
That's great. I just love the concept because it's more than just eating and cooking. It's also teaching and connecting, time periods and history and culture and everything together. That's wonderful. Vita, we're almost out of time, but where can people find the book and you? Because I know you've written other books too online. Is there a website or something?
Well, you can find me at vedabybee.com, but I write mostly for kids as well. I'm a children's
Right.
book author, but anywhere books are sold. So like on Barnes& and Noble or Amazon, or mostly online that way. But
Okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's been so much fun to talk to you and
You
talk
too.
about these great things. Like I know how much you love food, and it's part of your life as well.
Yes, it is. It is. And I love music too. So I love that you combine both things, especially the musicals. I adore them. So that's great. Thank you so much for being here and much success with the book. Are you going to do another? There's so many musicals out there. Have you ever thought about a follow up?
I don't know. I mean, I never want to say no to anything, but it was a lot of work, so it might be a little
Yes,
bit, yeah.
it is. It is. People don't realize how much work it is,
Yes.
It's definitely a lot of work. Well, that's great. Much success in everything you do, and hopefully we'll have you back in the near future.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guest. And as promised, I wanted to give you a challenge for this week. And here's the challenge. Again, as I mentioned, it's kind of related to St. Joseph's Day, but it's the gratitude and giving challenge. Step 1 is daily gratitude. Start or end each day by writing down 3 things that you are grateful for. These can be big or small, anything that brought you joy, comfort, or inspiration. Step 2 is acts of kindness. Perform at least one act of kindness this week. It could be donating to a local food bank, helping someone, helping a neighbor, supporting a local business, or even just offering a sincere compliment. And step 3 is to share the journey. Reflect on your experience and share it on social media or with friends, tagging this podcast if you can. So let us know how you did with your challenge this week. Again, share your experience on social media. Hashtag the Maria Liberati Show. And each week I started giving a challenge to everyone. So I gave a challenge last week, and you have a challenge for this week. And as always, you can find me at themarialiberattishow.com, at marialiberati.com, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Vimeo at Maria Liberati. Our YouTube channel is the Maria Liberati Show. And let's see, I think those are it. Oh, and on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, and my Gourmand World Award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. You can find that anywhere books are sold online at artoflivingprimamedia.com, the publisher's website. Don't forget, if you will be in the Philadelphia area on April 5th and 6th, I will be doing a cooking demo at Buck's Country Gardens on edible flowers and on edible herbs. And that is Buck's Country Gardens in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, on Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th. So Buck's Country Gardens, and you'll get the info there. And you should be able to also find the info on my website at marialiberati.com. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.